What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Good morning. Yes, it's just me. I've been allowed in UVHQ by myself. What could possibly go wrong? But I hope you're having a good Thursday morning so far. Over here in the UK, it's bank holiday today, so it's all very quiet. It's actually quite eerie, to be honest with you guys, here at UVHQ, because a peek behind the curtain, it's just me and Josh. It's just us. We're here by ourselves today, but still, even though it's a bank holiday, the news never stops when it comes to Manchester United, okay? So we've got plenty to get into this morning talking about Manchester United. We've got possible Timber doubts. If I could do the zoom in that Flex and KG do, I would do that right now. I will raise my eyebrow like The Rock. Timber doubts. Even though it was 90% done, he's definitely coming to us. Possible doubts. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk a little bit, not too much, because let's be honest, do we really care that much about Paul Pogba's departure? Because Paul Pogba, of course, it was announced yesterday that he's leaving the club. Got to talk a little bit about Jesse Lingard's departure as well, his legacy. How do we feel about that? Not that there's much feeling really left in that as well. We're also going to talk a little bit. This is a topic that I didn't think I was going to be talking about today, but we are going to be talking about it. Andreas Pereira, pre-season Pirlo, possibly staying? Oh, yes. Yes. I can hear all of your cries right now. We're going to talk about that too. And we're going to talk a little bit about Frenkie de Jong. So in this sort of next 30 minutes, we're going to try our very best to get all of that in. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well. Bottom right-hand corner too. I can see you all in the chat already saying, Mr. Reliable, hey Owen from South Africa. Crafty Skills says, morning Owen. Kevin Bridge says, thank God this is live. Oh, need that live content on a Thursday morning on a bank holiday here in the UK. But be sure to smash a like on the like button as well as you all start to filter in. Let's talk about Jurrien Timber. Because as I mentioned, and you can see on the thumbnail and in the title, we're talking today about Timber doubts. Now, this is a deal that I think a lot of Manchester United fans expected to be done relatively soon. I mean, the transfer window hasn't actually opened yet, but I think a lot of people were thinking our first sign is probably going to be Jurrien Timber, right? He's young. There's the links with Erik ten Hag as well. Reports that Timber's representatives have met with Manchester United's representatives in the Mayfair London office. It seems like things were progressing quite well. But he did an interview the other day talking about wanting to play, didn't he? He said, I want to go to a club where I'm going to be playing for my development. He did reference the World Cup coming up. And there would appear that there's quite a lot to his comments there because it's being reported by outlets in Holland. Now, I'm going to butcher this name. The We Talk Ajax guys are going to be very frustrated with me, but I'm going to do my best. Mike, I think it's Verway. Verway. This is Verway. Do you like that, Josh?
I said the exact same thing over here.
There, he said the exact same thing. But Mike, I'm going to go with Verway because I'm in a Star Wars mood after watching Obi-Wan last night. So Mike Verway is saying that Ajax now have high hopes to keep Jurrien Timber at Ajax. They are receiving more and more signals he will decide to stay. Now, why? Due to the guaranteed role he has at Ajax ahead of the World Cup. Now, some outlets based over here in the UK are saying that Jurrien Timber's potential move to Manchester United is in the balance, as he fears he could be left out of the World Cup if he is unable to nail down a regular place in Erik ten Hag's team. Timber is now agonising over whether to call the deal off, although a compromise that could see him join Manchester United in the winter transfer window, so later on, possibly in January, is on the table. It does continue, going back to Mike Verway, this is the way. Ajax are still aiming to upgrade and renew the contract of Jurrien Timber. A meeting will soon take place with his management. The return of his brother, Quinton Timber, would also help a lot in convincing him to renew. Now, Quinton Timber, if you're not familiar, used to play for Ajax, and he left last year to go to FC Utrecht. So this could be a situation, guys. Get the brother back, and you keep the other brother. We could be looking at that. So if you're not familiar with the stats of Jurrien Timber or the basic information, we can get that up on the screen right now. Obviously, he's 20, defender, plays for Ajax. The reported fee that they're talking about when it comes to Jurrien Timber has varied somewhat. You can see it on the screen right there. We've gone with 40 million euros. It's been quoted before as 30, 35, some going as high as 45 or 50. So right in the middle there, we're looking at 40 million. That's what we're looking at for Jurrien Timber. And I think the key thing there is really that first stat. The key thing there is his age. He is at an age of 20 years old where, sometimes with Manchester United, this is why people like Jude Bellingham decide to go to Borussia Dortmund over us, because we've almost got this culture of, yes, we bring through young talents at Manchester United, but also at a certain age, maybe they're not going to play. Maybe we think, they're not ready for the Premier League. Maybe they're not ready for Manchester United. And in a position as well, centre-back, where, yes, there are going to be departures this summer, Eric Bailly, Phil Jones being some of them, but it's his starting place completely nailed down. We know that Maguire's staying, even though people don't want that to happen. We know that Raphael Varane's still staying. Hopefully he's going to remain fit for more this season than he did this season, but we don't know. We know that Victor Lindelof's probably going to stay as well. We say Phil Jones and Eric Bailly. Who knows what could happen with them? We still got Axel Tuanzebe on the books. So there's at least three. There's at least three centre-backs there. And I think Jurrien Timber's probably thinking, look, there is a World Cup on the horizon at the end of the year in Qatar. Louis van Gaal has been ruthless, absolutely ruthless, as the Dutch national team coach, hasn't he? Especially when you think of Donny van der Beek. Donny van der Beek is the best example of this. Donny van der Beek was playing regularly at Ajax. He gets his big move to come to Manchester United. He doesn't play, and he doesn't play so much that eventually he's not getting in the Dutch squad anymore. And he even moved to Everton in that January transfer window on loan just to get game time, of the hope that eventually he would get back into the Dutch national team squad. Now, I don't know if that's actually happened yet when it comes to Donny van der Beek. We know that he's probably going to be playing this season a lot more. Certainly he's going to have the biggest stretch of time in the Manchester United playing squad that he's had, because Erik ten Hag is going to be the manager. But I think certainly his concern will be, Jurrien Timber, is I don't want to do a Donny. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm like Donny van der Beek. I don't want to go to Manchester United and then we're talking about maybe a 3-month period where it's like, well, he's got to adjust, and yeah, it's the Premier League and it's a different pace of football and physicality, and we've already heard the criticisms of, well, he's quite short for a centre-back. What if he plays a couple of games, then there's a couple of mistakes, or it doesn't work out, and then he's sat on the bench, and we start going, well, he just needs to develop a bit more. He's 20 years old. That could be the difference between him playing in the World Cup for Holland and not playing in the World Cup for Holland. Now, granted, you could say at the age of 20, there will be other World Cups for him, but that's not a guarantee. You never know what can happen in terms of your career. And I think what he's thinking about right now is, if I go to Manchester United, it's a gamble. And I know that seems crazy as Manchester United fans to be saying going to one of the biggest clubs in the world is a gamble. But for him right now, it is a gamble when he thinks about his World Cup situation. He knows if he stays at Ajax, 1, he's going to get a new contract because they're offering him improved terms. 2, he's going to play. He's going to play every single week. And if he plays every single week, he will be in the World Cup squad and he'll be playing in the World Cup. So it's a bit of a delicate situation, I suppose. It's a case of balancing out, okay, how do I progress my career? How do I make that big next step? How do I go to the next level? Do I go to Manchester United? But how much do I believe in myself, I suppose? How much do I believe in myself? And how much do I trust Erik ten Hag and Manchester United? I'm sure he's got trust in Ten Hag. Ten Hag trusts him. But Ten Hag's also got a lot to prove when it comes to Manchester United. If we get in a situation when it's October or November time and the results haven't been great, Erik ten Hag, he's got to go into preservation mode. He's going to have to play what's going to get him the best results, and that might not be at the time Jurrien Timber. And as we're getting closer to the World Cup, that might be the difference between him making it into the World Cup squad or not. And that might be a problem. That might be a problem for Jurrien Timber. So those doubts are certainly there when it comes to Jurrien Timber, and I think it's just the next step in a transfer that we thought was going to be relatively straightforward. We've spoken a lot in the recent days and weeks about Frenkie de Jong, haven't we? That seems like a relatively straightforward, like a difficult transfer to do when it comes to Frenkie de Jong, doesn't it? Because obviously Barca's situation makes it feel like it's a straightforward deal to do, but Barca don't really want to sell him in an ideal world. Frenkie de Jong doesn't want to leave Barcelona. He loves Barcelona. That's his favourite club. He wants to play in the Champions League as well. Manchester United can't offer him the Champions League. So the feeling there is that's a complicated deal to do. On the other side of that, you look at Jurrien Timber and you say, well, it feels relatively straightforward. I mean, Ten Hag, the relationship, the fee. Obviously, Ajax don't really want to sell, but if it's a good fee and the player wants to go, the relationship with Ten Hag, it feels relatively straightforward. That might not be the case now. The straightforward deal might have just got a bit more complicated, and it comes to reservations from Timber himself. And And again, I think it goes back to what we've been talking about recently when it comes to Manchester United of we do have to acknowledge where we are. We have to not acknowledge not only where we are, but who we are at this point. Previously, going to Manchester United, you would never have any doubts about not making a World Cup squad. If anything, going to Manchester United will almost guarantee you're going to play in a World Cup squad. That's changed now. We can't offer Champions League football, and also we can't even guarantee that you're actually going to develop or you're going to play well or you're going to play every single week. Granted, I know some people will be saying, well, Owen, why would we be giving in to demands of player time? We shouldn't be doing that when it's Marcus Rashford saying, I want assurances that I'm going to be playing every single week. What's going on with that? Why should Jurrien Timber be any different? That's fair. That's when it goes back to what I was saying previously about does he back himself? Does he back himself? So let me know in the chat what you think about this one. If you were Jurrien Timber, what decision would you make? Would you go to Manchester United this summer, link up with your former boss, play in the Premier League, get an improved contract, or would you think there is a World Cup on the horizon? There is no doubt that Louis van Gaal has probably spoken to Jurrien Timber as well. We saw it when Erik ten Hag, his first press conference, they asked him, have you spoken to Louis van Gaal? He said, yes. Louis van Gaal apparently has got a movie. I went to his premiere. He gave me his opinions, but I make my own decisions. And it should be the same with Jurrien Timber. He should make his own decisions as well. But I'm sure Louis van Gaal will have a discussion and say, you want to be careful there, mate. You want to be careful going to Manchester United. I was there. And look at Donny. And probably Jurrien Timber's having a discussion with Donny as well. You think they're all meeting up right now, the Dutch squad. How many people are talking about Manchester United in that squad? Whether it's the coach, whether it's Donny, whether it's Frenkie, whether it's Jurrien. They're all chatting about Manchester United going, are you going to go there? Has Eric spoken to you? Has Eric been on the phone? What's going on with Manchester United at the moment? And it's probably no coincidence, actually, when you think about it, that Jurrien Timber is meeting up for international duty right now. And there are these elements of doubts now of like, the World Cup is coming, and if I don't play, maybe I'm not going to get there. So if you were Jurrien Timber, what would you do right now? And I know it's difficult as a Manchester United fan because let's face it, if we were Manchester United fan, well, we are Manchester United fans. If we got the decision to play for Manchester United, we'd take it all day. But I can sympathise. I can sympathise with what he's probably thinking right there, and I can sympathise and empathise with his reservations because he only has to look at Donny van de Beek. Donny van de Beek is the perfect example of what can go wrong, especially in a World Cup year. If it wasn't a World Cup year, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. He would come. But it's a World Cup year, and the World Cup is not far away. It's in November. When does it actually start? It's November, December time, isn't it? So, yes, it's an interesting one. There's a poll just gone up in the chat as well saying, if you were Timber, would you join United? And we'll come back to that because I think the results are going to be quite interesting with that one. Just to continue on that as well, as I mentioned, sources over here, or outlets rather in the UK, are saying that talks between Manchester United and Timber's representatives made progress in meetings in London, but it has emerged overnight that Timber does harbour serious doubts as he's desperate to take part in the Winter World Cup. So as we were saying before about those doubts that Jurrien Timber has, which I do think are somewhat justified as well. So as I mentioned, the polls in the chat there. We've got nearly 500 people watching, less than 100 likes, Josh. I think he would be shouting disgrace at this period of time. And maybe Mike Phelan might jump in later on as well. But they're different people. So we'll see how that one plays out. But let's get it over to at least over 100 likes. I know it's early. I know it's bank holiday. I know people are tired. I know people got plans. But we can do better. We can do better. That whisper sounded very sinister there, Owen. I do want to talk about Paul Pogba briefly as well this morning. Now, obviously, it was announced yesterday that Paul Pogba is leaving Manchester United, the worst kept secret in football, that he was leaving the club. It seems like he's going back to Juventus. And I know what people are going to say, Owen, I don't care. And I'm with you, to be honest. And that's not really a case of out of sight, out of mind. That's just a case of this is like it's Thanos. It felt inevitable for a really long time. So when they made the announcement yesterday, Paul Pogba's leaving, everyone went, yes, we know that. I know they have to do the formalities and I know they have to do all that kind of stuff, but there are some interesting details about this that I'm sure people will love. One comes from Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mail, who says that Paul Pogba will walk away with a 3.78 million loyalty bonus when he leaves Manchester United as a free agent at the end of the month. Now, when I see stuff like that, I just go, I know people will look at that figure and go, oh, that's a lot of money. Why are we giving that to Pogba? Well, that was agreed when he signed back in 2016. So that's that's just what happens when you see out your contract with a club. But there are some interesting details about what sort of led or built up to his departure from Manchester United. And then it comes from Laurie Whitwell of The Athletic, so we know it's a reputable source as well, saying that Paul Pogba sent Ole Gunnar Solskjaer text messages in the summer of 2020 asking for a new contract. Solskjaer replied he was pressing the board, but ultimately all Manchester United did was trigger the extension in his existing deal. That outcome left Pogba deflated. It also continues saying that the idea that Manchester City's approach for Paul Pogba was designed to antagonize Manchester United or form part of an elaborate scheme can be ridiculed by the fact that Pep Guardiola personally met Pogba to discuss a move across town and explained in the warmest terms why he wanted him. Of course, Pogba decided to turn down Manchester City's approach, and Pogba lobbied Ronaldo to be more constructive with feedback for younger players. After the 2-0 victory versus Brighton, Pogba gave encouragement to Maguire, whose final touch was to clear the ball. Quote, "We have to believe in ourselves. You're an £80 million player for a reason," Paul Pogba was saying. Which is quite funny when you see that, when you hear that quote. You have to believe in yourself, Harry. You're an £80 million player for a reason. I mean, he didn't specify what reasons, he must be said. I don't know if it's because of quality. You're an £80 million player because of inflation, an English tax on players, desperation, coming off of a World Cup the year prior. I mean, there's several reasons why Harry Maguire is an £80 million player. I'm not necessarily sure it's because of his ability to clear the ball in the last minute against Brighton, but there's some interesting details about Pogba. I mean, that bit of saying that he wanted a new deal in 2020, and I don't really know what our reaction's supposed to be when it comes to that. We could have kept Paul. Paul could have stayed at the club. I think most Man United fans, honestly, and Flex kind of spoke about it yesterday, that it is an understatement to say he's been underwhelming. This guy came in 2016, and that whole summer, wasn't it, with the Mourinho and Pogba, it felt like, all right, we've got the formula now back at Manchester United. We've got the formula back. We're going to be winning titles. Yes, we won trophies. Yes, we won the Europa League. And yes, we won the League Cup. And yeah, okay. But it wasn't what we wanted. And it wasn't what we expected. And it just hasn't worked out. It just hasn't worked out. And Paul Pogba leaving is the best move for everyone involved, because yes, Paul Pogba has had matches and moments where he's played well. You think about that game at the Etihad when we came back from 2-0 down, and that was Paul Pogba at his peak, and everyone's saying, oh, if only we could get that Paul Pogba. But we don't. We don't get that Paul Pogba. And the fact that it's 6 years after Paul Pogba joined Manchester United, and we're still having that discussion. Well, thankfully, we're not anymore, but we were having that discussion of, how do you get the best out of Paul Pogba? What system do you have to get the best out of Paul Pogba? How do we get the best out of him? How do you unlock Paul Pogba? I'm tired of it, and I think everyone else is. And he might go to Juventus. He might do well. Myself, personally, I think that's an odd move. I do think that's a strange one, because it just seems bizarre that I was under the impression he left Manchester United because he wanted to win things. He's coming to the last big contract of his career. He wants to win trophies, and I don't know if that happens at Juventus. I mean, a few years ago at Juventus, obviously, they were winning the league and they were dominating. They're not dominating Italy anymore. It's AC Milan and Inter Milan, and Napoli are involved in that discussion as well. Juventus finished fourth this year. And if they think that bringing back Paul Pogba, dropping him into that Juventus side, means that they're going to win Serie A again, they might win it this season, but I don't think that's guaranteed, because we thought that's what we were getting. We thought we dropped Paul Pogba into the Manchester United side, we compete for titles. It didn't happen. It just didn't. So I think that move's a little bit interesting, but hey, that's the Paul Pogba situation. And as Flex said yesterday, it's an understatement to say that he's been underwhelming. Will he go somewhere? And this is what will happen. He'll go somewhere, and we'll see occasionally these clips on Twitter or social media of, Pogba did this pass, or Pogba scored this goal, but we're not watching him every single week anymore. And that will be the case with Pogba. Now, speaking of departures, also as well yesterday, Manchester United announced the departure of Jesse Lingard too. Jesse Lingard, of course, in the same vein as Paul Pogba, is leaving the club after his contract expired. Again, everyone knew this. Everyone knew that was going to be the case. Everyone knew that Jesse Lingard was leaving the club. Again, best move for all parties, isn't it? It's the best move for everyone involved. And the way that it has ended with Jesse Lingard at United is somewhat disappointing, with him, maybe not himself personally, but his brother coming out on social media and he deserved a send-off and all that kind of stuff. Just come on. Enough with that. Enough with that. Enough with that stuff that we've seen this season. Enough with, the picture in the West Ham shirt, and just enough. We don't need it. We've got enough going on at Manchester United without an extra player not wanting to be there, or claims, oh, the manager lied to me, or the manager did this, or I didn't get a send-off. Enough. And he's obviously not happy. Go somewhere where you're happy. Now, whether that will be at West Ham, whether that will be abroad, Manchester United released a statement yesterday saying, quote, "We'd like to take the opportunity to thank Jesse Lingard for all the memories he's helped create during his 2 decades here and wish him the best of luck in his future career." So Manchester United they basically, it was almost copy and paste when it came to Paul Pogba's statement of his departure as well. But look, that's it with Lingard. And I know people will say that, oh, it's because he's at the club a long time, joined at the age of 7, and he scored that winning goal in the FA Cup final, and he did win an FA Cup, a League Cup, and he had the record at Wembley, and won the Europa League at Manchester United, and and he came through the academy, but it just didn't end well. It didn't end well, and obviously, could Manchester United have handled that better? Yes. Should we have let him go last summer? Yes. Do I empathise with him somewhat because he was clearly lied to by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Yes. But you're still professional. And this is the point. You are a professional footballer. It's in the top. Professional footballer. You still be professional. And if you don't get your send-off, you complain to your family or you complain to your mates going, "Do what I wanted a send-off." And they're like, "Yeah." But you just go, "Oh, well, I'll show them. I'll go somewhere else and I'll be successful." Don't moan. Don't whine. And I know it's ironic because I'm moaning and whining right now. But I'm not Jesse Lingard. I'm not getting paid the amount he was. I'm not playing for Manchester United, and I'm not a professional footballer. So he'll go somewhere else, and he'll do fine. But it's enough. It really is enough when it comes to all of that. So enough about that. One player that might be staying, and this, I would love to know your opinion on this one. Just having a quick look on the poll, by the way. We asked this about 10 minutes ago when we were talking about Jurrien Timber and the doubts that he possibly is having when it comes to Manchester United joining them this summer because he might not get to the World Cup squad. About 10 minutes ago, we asked, if you were Timber, would you join United? And interestingly, we've got 63% saying yes and only 37% saying no. So obviously, we are all going to be biased here because we want Timber to join Manchester United because it does improve our team and our squad. But a lot of you are saying no. You would join Manchester United. You would back yourself. Erik ten Hag's going to be the manager. You are going to play. Look at the state of play when it comes to our centre-backs. You would start. But I do think it's interesting because I do think it says a lot about where we are. That a 20-year-old from Ajax, no disrespect, is saying to himself, no guarantee I'm going to start there, And logic would be, well, you're 20 years old, yes, but you're coming into a Manchester United side, but they bought you. They've spent money for you, so surely you would join. Surely you're going to play, but you never know. He's having the doubts. But I do want to talk about, in the last few minutes here, last 10 minutes or so, I do want to talk about Andreas Pereira. Now, pre-season Pirlo, yes. There was a clip of him scoring a goal, I think, for Flamengo the other day in Brazil, an equalizer, I think. And I think it was in January or something like that. It wasn't officially announced by United, but it was widely reported that he was going to be staying in Brazil. They'd agreed a transfer. That was going to happen. And then it just all went silent. It was like the deal was agreed, and then just nothing happened regarding that again. And everyone was sort of like, well, what's going on with him? We don't want to keep him. The guy's got more. This proves the guy's got more lives than the cat, okay? They say a cat has 9 lives. Andreas Pereira has 10. Because by all accounts, he's coming back. Not only is he going to come back, he's going to stay. I'm not even joking. Right? This is not a bank holiday kind of joke or anything like that. This is coming from reports out in Brazil. Diogo Dantas, great pronunciation there, Owen, says Andreas Pereira is expected to be contacted by Erik ten Hag to listen to his plan soon. Manchester United told Pereira they don't want to sell him. Home Alone face. They don't want to sell Pereira. Now, this could be a situation whereby they don't want to sell him because no one wants to buy him. Maybe. We thought you were going to be sold in Brazil and even they don't want you. But it looks like somehow, some way, Andreas Pereira could be coming back to Manchester United, and there's a preseason on the horizon. There's a preseason on the horizon, and you just never know. He has a good preseason. He ends up in the squad. Honestly, if that happens, we're talking about a big summer clear out. There's going to be a big summer clear out of Manchester United, and we still can't get rid of Andreas Pereira. Not wanting to sound disrespectful or anything like that, but he's clearly just not good enough. He's just not good enough. And he might have a great preseason. He might score goals in preseason. He might score great goals in preseason, but he's clearly just not good enough for Manchester United. And I don't want to have that discussion, and I don't want to hear those conversations about, wow, maybe Ten Hag can get something out of him. Maybe Ten Hag sees something in him. And I know we've kind of joked about it here on the channel recently of, well, if the manager wants it, and if it's what the manager wants, and if it's what Erik Ten Hag wants, and you got to back the manager, and if Erik Ten Hag wants to keep Andreas Pereira, we want to keep Andreas, no. That's my line. That's my line in the sand there when it comes to Andreas Pereira. Enough. How many times has this guy gone out on loan or come back, and then gone out on loan and come back, gone out on loan and come back? You spoke about this in the keep or sell thing that went up last night with KG talking about loans. And there's really sort of two aspects of loans, isn't there? There's one for development, and there's two to raise player value, or it's sort of a stopgap to find them a club permanently. Hopefully they go there, they play well, and then you go, okay, you can buy him. Neither's happened. Neither's happened for Andreas Pereira and all of the loans that he has done. Has he developed? Has he improved his value? Has he found a club? Nothing. Nothing's happened. So it's just very frustrating. Very frustrating. A lot of people talking about Andreas in the chat. Yeah, it's not great. It really is not great. I do want to touch on Frenkie de Jong as well briefly. Before we wrap things up today, because this came out yesterday from Fabrizio Romano. I'm sure you all saw it, saying that Manchester United have opened direct talks with Barcelona for Frenkie de Jong. Price tag around 85 million euros. They're waiting for an opening bid, so no opening bid has been made yet by Manchester United. But the key thing, as we all know, is that de Jong is not convinced to leave Barcelona, and he wants Champions League football. Manchester United will try to push again, as Barca need to solve financial issues. So it's kind of more of the same, honestly, when it comes to Frenkie de Jong at the moment. He still doesn't want to leave the club. He still wants Champions League football. Barca still want to sell, or they need to sell rather. They probably don't want to lose Frenkie de Jong, but they still need to sell him. And Manchester United still want the player. But I don't see how that impasse gets fixed. I just don't, because de Jong wants Champions League football. We don't have Champions League football. Something doesn't fit there. It doesn't work. Now, I'm not saying that deal is not going to get done. It's kind of what Flex, KG, and myself were talking about on Tuesday, saying that if Barca do go to him and say, look, we have to sell you, you've got to go to Manchester United for the sake of the club. You've got to go to Manchester United. Then maybe, just maybe, that deal can get done and the convincing by Erik Ten Hag can happen. But I do agree with what people are saying when it's a case of, if he really doesn't want to come, then why are we continuing to pursue this? Why are we continuing to push so hard for a player that really doesn't want to come? There's no doubt he's good enough. There's no doubting his quality. And is he the defensive midfielder we need? Is he the six we need? I think he's the six that Erik Ten Hag wants. And in Erik Ten Hag's vision of how he wants to play this season, he wants Frenkie de Jong. That's his perfect player in his mind's eye. But it's going to be tough. And that price tag, you notice, keeps getting a little bit higher, doesn't it? Every single time it starts off at 60 to 65, 70. Now we're talking about 85 million euros. We've spoken previously that our budget is reportedly, 140 million euros? 85's a substantial chunk out of that. If those reports are accurate, and I know it might be added up a little bit, we might get a bit more on when we sell players. But still, that's a lot taken out of that. And we need to sign more than at least one position this summer. We're talking about 4 or 5 positions this summer. So the latest news, I suppose, with Frenkie de Jong is that officially we are in talks with Barcelona about a deal. But the impasse about Champions League football, the impasse about Frenkie de Jong's reluctance is still there. And Frenkie de Jong saying in interviews the other day that actually no one said anything to me. So unless Barcelona communicate to him that he's got to leave or they want him to leave, then we ultimately don't know what's going to happen at the moment. And this one is going to be a long, drawn-out one, I think. And I worry about the time that we're putting into this one. Are we putting time into a deal that feasibly can't or won't be done? That's the big question here. So be sure to let us know your thoughts on all of the transfer stories we've spoken about today. Oh, also, actually, this is the positive of going live, being live, is that in the last couple of seconds here, Manchester United have just confirmed, we're talking in the last 15 seconds, Manchester United have just confirmed that Juan Mata will be leaving the club. So some breaking news here. Juan Mata will be leaving the club. Again, we all know this to be accurate. We all knew that this was going to be happening. It's pretty much the same thing that was announced yesterday when it came to Paul Pogba and Jesse Lingard. But while we're live, we might as well talk about it here. Is that Manchester United have just released the following statement when it comes to Juan Mata. Manchester United can confirm that Juan Mata will depart the club when his contract expires this summer. They speak about him joining Manchester United in 2014. He made his final appearance on our last fixture of the 21-22 season away to Crystal Palace. Spoke about winning the... they talk about his accomplishments with Chelsea. Mata already won the Champions League, FA Cup and Europa League, all with Chelsea when the Reds signed him on the 26th of January 2014. Speaks about his success with Manchester United as well. Speaks about winning the FA Cup with Manchester United and his key moments at the club. So, yeah, Juan Mata is leaving Manchester United as well. I suppose we could spend the next 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes or so talking about Juan Mata's Manchester United career. We were going to wrap it up there, but this is what happens when you're live. This is what happens when I'm left in UVHQ alone on a bank holiday. Big stuff happens. So Juan Mata, if you're just joining us, has officially left Manchester United upon the expiration of his contract. Mata's legacy, I mean, let me know what you think. How would you rate Juan Mata's legacy? How would you rate his time, his tenure at Manchester United? Let me know in the live chat what you think about his time at the club, because it's a strange one, isn't it? Because this is a guy that when we signed him in 2014, so we're talking about 8 years ago, nearly a decade ago, there was a bit of excitement. Yes, it was the David Moyes era, and I remember the moment in January of him landing in a helicopter, was it at Carrington, shaking David Moyes' hand and us saying, oh, I'll tell you what, we might have got a steal there. We signed him from Chelsea. At the time, it was Mourinho's Chelsea. Mourinho had his doubts about him, wasn't happy with Mata's ability to track back or the defensive side of Juan Mata's game. I think he had decided at the time that Oscar was going to be his number 10. So Juan Mata was made available and we signed Mata. And I guess to kind of sum up his Manchester United tenure is we bought a number 10 and barely played him as that role. He was shifted out to the left. He was shifted out to the right. We pulled him back into maybe a little bit deeper in midfield, tried to play him sometimes as an 8, but mainly it was a case of this guy who could maybe do a job on the left or right. But let's face it, he never had a load of pace. He had technical quality, certainly. He was an inside forward when he was playing on the left and right, but he was never going to beat a player in terms of pace or just nick the ball past him. No, that was never, ever, ever going to happen. He just had the technical ability just to get past players, with skill, with ability. But if we had played him as a 10, who knows what happened? And it kind of just sums up Manchester United's recruitment, doesn't it? Over the past decade is that we bought a number 10 and we never, ever, ever played him as a number 10. And that's sad. But this is the opposite of what I was talking about earlier with Jesse Lingard, is that absolutely it's the right time for Juan Mata to go. He's 34 years of age and he did sign a contract extension last year. I think it was a 1-year extension, and it was a reduction in wages, but he was still on relatively high wages. And when you looked at the Manchester United squad and players that weren't playing but were getting wages, you did point to Mata and say, why is this guy still under contract at the club? But the key thing about Mata is that he has handled his departure with integrity, with dignity. There was never anything about, I deserve a send-off. There was never anything. When did you ever hear anything on social media or in the papers or in various outlets about Juan Mata misbehaving or Juan Mata causing issues at the club or Juan Mata having arguments with people? As I mentioned earlier, the key is in your title. You're a professional footballer. The key is in professional. And that's always what Juan Mata was. He was always professional, and this is one of those situations where it leaves and you're not sad to see him go, but you say fair play. You know, you came to a club at a really, really difficult time. You did manage to win trophies. You were never played in the position that you should be, but you still managed to achieve moments. You think back to the goal at Anfield with the scissor kick he scores there. I think they were saying, did he score the equalising goal in the FA Cup final? Against Crystal Palace, yeah, Mata scored an 81st minute equaliser in the final against Crystal Palace. So he's stamped his legacy on the club, and he's had his moments. He's won things at the club, despite being a really challenging time at Manchester United. And again, like with any signing in the last 10 years, did it go the way that we'd hoped it would have gone to? No, of course not. Of course it didn't go the way that we hoped it would have with him. We hoped he was going to come here and under David Moyes, it was going to spearhead success and we were going to have great moments and great memories with Juan Mata at the club. It didn't happen that way. But the timing is right. There was some discussions about previously, wasn't there? Is he going to stay and is he going to be a coach at Manchester United? No. No, clearly not. He still feels he has time left on his career and he still feels that he has something to offer clubs. And in fairness to him, you would say, actually, it's probably not the right time to retire for him because, let's face it, he came on in the last, 4 or 5 games of the season. When he was coming on, he was our best player. And even that was a massive indictment of just how bad and poor Manchester United were this past season, particularly at the end of the season, where a 34-year-old Juan Mata was coming on in 2022, replacing some of those players, and he was still one of the best players on the pitch because of his ability, but also because he was trying. He cared. And again, that's what I mentioned. He handles himself with integrity and dignity, and he cares. Ultimately, he cares. And that's the key thing. So he could return in a later date in a coaching role or something like that. I mean, there was some discussion, wasn't there, about could he possibly stay under Erik ten Hag, and could ten Hag maybe like him because he's a bit of a technical player. He's one of the few players that actually has the ability to keep the ball, pass the ball, and things of that nature, but clearly not. He's decided, and I'm sure Ten Hag would have spoken to either Mata or signed off on this of, do you want to keep him for another year? And he's, no, we don't. So the clear-out continues at Manchester United. You've got Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard, and Juan Mata, all of their departures being announced in the last few days. Is there going to be any more? I mean, technically, Nemanja Matic has already announced his departure. I don't know if United will do an official thing about him, but possibly it could be just one of many announcements that are coming. But the clear-out continues at Manchester United. As I mentioned, guys, be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Have a great bank holiday. I'm out of here, and we'll speak for you again very, very soon. Peace.